Justin Gaethje just did something nobody in this sport thought was possible. He walked into the White House, stepped inside that cage with fireworks lighting up the sky behind him, and beat the man that everyone, and I mean everyone, had written off as unbeatable. Ilia Topuria is no longer the lightweight champion of the world. And the way it happened is going to be studied, debated, and replayed for years. Let's start with the moment everyone missed. Because this fight did not turn on one punch. It did not turn on one exchange. It turned on a game plan that nobody saw coming. Not the analysts, not the commentators, and based on everything that happened inside that cage, not Ilia Topuria either. Gaethje came in as a massive underdog. 37 years old. A man who has absorbed enormous damage over the course of his career. A man who got knocked out by Max Holloway at UFC 300 in one of the most spectacular finishes this sport has ever produced. The conventional wisdom said Topuria was going to hurt him early, break him down, and finish it before the championship rounds. The conventional wisdom was completely wrong. Here is what actually happened. Topuria walked into that arena glowing with confidence. The aura was real. The shadow boxing inside the cage while fireworks exploded in the background. He looked like a man who had already won. And for the first few minutes of that fight, the body language made sense. Topuria was sharp. Topuria was exactly what we expected him to be. And then Gaethje started landing the jab. And everything changed. The technical explanation for what happened to Topuria is something every serious MMA fan needs to understand, because it reveals a structural vulnerability in his game that has appeared before. Topuria came in with a specific defensive stance, leaning heavy backwards, overloading onto the hip, and the reason for that stance was intelligent. It is a legitimate defensive posture against leg kicks. It keeps the lead leg light, easy to lift and defend. When Gaethje threw his first inside leg kick, Topuria defended it cleanly. The stance was working for exactly what it was designed to do. But that same stance put his head in the center. Stationary. Without head movement. And Gaethje's jab found it over and over again throughout the entire fight. Topuria was eating jabs because his defensive posture against leg kicks was simultaneously an offensive invitation for straight punches. Gaethje identified that vulnerability, or his team identified it in the film room, and they built the entire game plan around exploiting it. The leg kicks were almost a decoy. The jab was the weapon. And then came the uppercut. Because the jab alone was not going to finish Ilia Topuria. Gaethje knew that. So he used his wrestling, not to take Topuria down, but to create the threat of a takedown. This is the detail that separates what Gaethje did on Saturday night from anything he has done before in his career. He has always had elite wrestling. He has almost always used it defensively. Against Ilia Topuria, on the biggest night of his professional life, he used it offensively, not to change the level of the fight, but to change the level of his opponent's head. The sequence worked like this. Gaethje shoots for a single leg. Topuria has to respond. He drops his posture, lowers his level, begins to sprawl. And as Topuria's head comes forward and down, Gaethje's right uppercut comes up to intercept it. The geometry is perfect. Topuria drops his head directly into the path of the punch. The first time it landed reasonably well. The second time, the one that changed the fight, it landed directly into the eye. One punch. One eye. And from that moment forward, the fight was operating on fundamentally different terms. Watch the footage of Topuria after that shot lands. He covers the eye immediately. You can see the redness developing in real time. That eye was damaged from a single uppercut, and the damage accumulated through every subsequent round. Gaethje showed the fight IQ to recognize what he had done and attack that same eye repeatedly with precision, jabbing to the damaged side, targeting the weakened area with methodical intelligence. That is not the Justin Gaethje that people expected to show up. That is a version of Gaethje that this sport has not fully seen before. The chin question deserves its own conversation because it is genuinely shocking. We know Topuria's power. We have seen what that right hand does to elite fighters. Gaethje ate clean, full power shots from Topuria throughout this fight and kept coming forward. There was one exchange in the first round, a right hand that landed flush, with Gaethje's head moving directly into the punch, where the power was everything we know Topuria generates at his best. It did nothing. Gaethje absorbed it and threw back. That chin performance against that level of power, at 37 years old, after the accumulated damage of his entire career, is one of the most remarkable durability displays this sport has produced in recent memory. The second round is where Topuria made the critical mistake that may have cost him the fight. He had Gaethje hurt to the body, badly hurt. The left hooks to the liver were landing clean, landing repeatedly, landing on an opponent who was giving away the exact same body opening that Eddie Alvarez had exploited years earlier. Gaethje has always left that body exposed when his hands come up high. Topuria found it. He had Gaethje in serious trouble. And then he went to the ground. He dragged Gaethje down and spent the remainder of that round trying to submit him, arm bars, mounted triangles, transitions, ground and pound. None of it finished Gaethje. And by spending all of that time and energy on the mat trying to get a submission, Topuria did two things simultaneously. He gave Gaethje time to recover from the body damage that might have ended the fight if the pressure had continued standing. And he burned enormous energy on a submission sequence against a man whose grappling defense, while limited, was sufficient to survive. It was the wrong decision at the wrong moment against the wrong opponent. And the later rounds proved it. By the third and fourth rounds, Topuria was visibly fading. The energy expenditure from the submission attempts in round 2, combined with the eye damage, the accumulated punching, and the natural toll of a championship fight against a man who refuses to stop coming forward, had changed who was the fresher fighter in that cage. Gaethje kept landing that jab. He kept threatening the takedown and following with the uppercut. He kept finding the damaged eye with precision that was almost cruel in its targeting. And Topuria, who had looked like a man apart in the early exchanges, started walking into punches he would have slipped cleanly earlier in the fight. The ending came in the fourth round. Topuria simply could not see anymore. The referee watched it happen, the shots landing on an eye that had been compromised since the first round, the defensive reactions becoming slower, the ability to track and respond to Gaethje's movement deteriorating in real time. The doctor had seen enough before the fourth round and communicated that Topuria's vision was compromised. In a remarkable moment, one that apparently had no direct precedent, the referee asked Topuria if he could see. Topuria said yes, and the fight continued. Until it couldn't. Until the referee saw what needed to be seen and stopped it. Justin Gaethje is the new lightweight champion of the world. The MMA triangle that this result creates is almost too perfect for this sport. Max Holloway beat Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje beat Ilia Topuria. Ilia Topuria beat Max Holloway. Rock, paper, scissors at the highest level of the sport. The same triangle exists if you replace Holloway with Charles Oliveira. The circular logic of elite MMA competition, where any given night can produce any given result, playing out on the south lawn of the White House in front of the world. Topuria is not finished. He is 27 years old. He has a chin that absorbed enormous punishment across 4 rounds and never completely broke. He has the technical skills and the physical tools to come back from this and compete at the highest level for another decade if he chooses to. But the narrative of inevitable, unstoppable Topuria dominance, the version of the story where no one could touch him, where the only question was what belt he collected next, that narrative is over. Gaethje rewrote it on Saturday night. And Justin Gaethje, 37 years old, written off, given no reasonable chance by the people who study this professionally, delivered the performance of his career on the biggest stage this sport has ever created. He used his wrestling offensively for the first time in the way his tools always suggested was possible. He showed fight IQ that silenced every critic who ever questioned his tactical depth. He absorbed power that should have ended the fight multiple times and refused to stop moving forward. He beat the best fighter on the planet. On the South Lawn. With the White House behind him and the world watching. That is the version of Justin Gaethje that nobody knew existed. The only person who knew it was in there was Gaethje himself.